This is the FatShark Scout, and in this video, we're going to do a teardown and take a close look at it. It features a 4-inch 1136 by 640 display with a 50-degree field of view. It's got true diversity with an internal patch antenna and an SMA connector on top for the included circular polarized antenna, a DVR, and an 18650 battery. So when this was first announced, it really piqued my interest. Mainly I wanted to see how they did it, because it seems like a pretty interesting product. We've got diversity antennas with an internal patch, as well as a high-resolution 4-inch display, so let's open this thing up and see how it works. Now, FatShark did a really nice job of concealing the screws on this thing. I had a hard time figuring out how to open it. Turns out there are 6 screws hiding behind the Velcro stickers that hold the face sponge on there, so you have to kind of peel those away to get to them. There are 2 on the bottom and 4 across the top. Now, I always hate to rip stickers off a product in order to get to the screws, but these are pretty good stickers and they go right back on, so I don't feel too bad. Now we can pull off the lens, and it seems to be a pretty nice quality lens. I think it's snapped into place, but I didn't want to try to pull it off. Now, here's the tricky part. This entire unit is screwed together, and the SMA and the joystick are protruding through the top of the shell, so you can't just pull it out. So I struggled a little bit with this off camera, but I finally got it out. And the trick is that I had to bend the top of the casing in order to pull the SMA out, and the joystick just popped off with a screwdriver, so that wasn't a problem. Now let's take a look at the electronics. So here we've got an enclosure with the display, a polarizer, and a mirror, as well as the main board with the receivers, the DVR, and all the components. There are only 4 screws holding it together, as well as the UFL connector holding the patch antenna on, and the ribbon cable connecting the display to the main board. There's also a connector for the fan over on the side here. So let's take a close look at the main board. We've got the 2 receivers, some LEDs, beeper, driver chip, even the battery holder. Here's the back side. So this is pretty neat. There's a fan on the side here, and we've got a little bit of ductwork at the bottom, and it blows the air through the ducts to a couple vents below your eyes. Now, this part is not for the faint of heart. Inside this enclosure, it needs to be perfectly dust-free and immaculate. And this display cannot be smudged, and you really don't want to be messing with this here. But for the sake of science, I took it apart just to see how it all looks, and really just to get a good look at the display. It is extremely thin and seems to be a really high quality display. Take a look at the model number here. So let's take a quick look at the display. I'm just going to put the battery in here and turn it on. And one thing you might notice is this display has a pretty good white balance. A lot of these displays have a cool hue to them, so I find this one to look pretty accurate. So the way this thing works is the display points downward toward a half-silvered mirror at a 45-degree angle, and that projects the image forward to a mirror, which then reflects it back toward your eyes, again through the half-silvered mirror. Now, this sort of configuration is prone to a little bit of ghosting, but it's not very significant here. So let's put this back together. Now, we don't want any dust in this enclosure, so I used a sterile ear syringe, and I held it upside down to blow air into it until all the dust particles were out. Now, unfortunately, my little science experiment here did result in some damage. For some reason, the display now has a blue line going through the top of it. FatShark was very gracious, though, and they're willing to sell me a replacement display. So to get this back in there, you've got to pull the plastic up just enough so that the antenna can clear and slide it on in. All right, now we're back together. Let's pop the joystick back in there. It fits on a square peg, so you kind of got to rotate it around until you get it seated. Now, putting the lens back on requires a little finesse. You just have to make sure the 2 side pieces there slide into place. Alright, we got it back together, and it works just fine, except for that blue line. So before we get to the comparisons, I wanted to show you what the menu looks like here. It's a really nice menu, and it's fully integrated. You can control the AV input, channels, everything from the display elements, even down to the DVR controls are all here. It's really nice. Now let's see how it compares to some other headsets. First thing, we got the FatShark Recon V2. I haven't got the V3 quite yet. But one big difference here is that the battery's at the bottom and there's a switch at the bottom. With the FatShark Scout, we've got the battery on top and there's a button on top. I guess the button does feel more intuitive where it is, but you do have to hold it for a couple seconds to turn it on and off, unlike the switch on the Recon. Now, the Recon V2 also has a DVR, but the microSD slot is here. But the slot is over on the side of the FatShark Scout. Also, the Recon V2 and the Recon V3 do not have AV in or AV out, but the FatShark Scout does. Now, between these two displays, it's no contest. The Scout is substantially better. The Recon V2 is really low resolution. I'm looking forward to seeing the higher resolution display in the Recon V3. Next, we've got the eSheen EV800D, which is a real popular choice, but it comes in at about half the price of the FatShark Scout. Now, here's a quick size comparison. And the EV800D is really popular for FPV beginners. And I just wanted to show you how it compares to a slightly higher end model, such as the FatShark Scout. Now, it's starting to show its age. It's got a big display. I think it's a 5-inch display. And it is 800 by 480 compared to the FatShark, which is a much higher resolution display. Also, the field of view of the EV800D is much larger. I think it's around 60 to 70 degrees, while the FatShark Scout is closer to 50. Personally, I prefer the 50-degree field of view. It also has a DVR and diversity antennas. So as far as features are concerned, they both have about the same features. The only difference is that the FatShark is much more compact and has a much higher resolution display. Next, we've got the FXT Viper, which is a pretty unique headset. It's near in price to the FatShark Scout, but not quite as expensive. And it also allows you to wear glasses. Both of these are a high-end box headset. And the FXT Viper has some unique features. It has a DVR as well, but it also has HDMI input, and the display can be removed. And you can use it as a handheld display, or you can even mount it on a tripod with an adapter. So it's a unique product, but it also only has a 5-inch 800 by 480 display. And it's not as nice as the FatShark Scout. But I thought I'd just pull it out so you can see. Now, finally, we've got the FatShark HDO, which is their top-of-the-line headset. It's about $300 more than the FatShark Scout. But I thought it'd be a pretty good comparison because they both have really nice quality displays. And it's amazing that box headsets like the FatShark Scout have gotten so small. One of the main selling points for FatShark's goggles has always been the compact size. And the FatShark Scout is very compact for a box goggle. Surprisingly so. It's smaller than anything else I've seen on the market. Plus, it has a really nice field of view and a great display. So in terms of value, it's really a great value. I would even say if you want a large field of view and a compact goggle, then this is the best way to go. Now, it's not for everybody though, because personally, I prefer a slightly smaller field of view. When the field of view is too large, I feel like I'm missing something because I'm not moving my eyes and I'm focusing only on the center of the screen. With the smaller screen or smaller field of view, I can focus on the entire image without moving my eyes, so that can be really helpful. So let's take a look at some of the DVR footage. Now, the Scout has a great DVR. It records at 720 by 480 at 60 frames per second. So pay close attention to the frame rate because you can tell it is a lot smoother with the 60 frames per second. Now, I don't know how they did this because NTSC only operates at 30 frames per second, so they must be doing some magic in the DVR. Also, pay attention to the colors and the contrast because it looks like the Scout has a higher contrast picture and the colors seem to be a lot more vibrant. So it's great to see FatShark is experimenting with a higher end DVR. I know the community's been asking for an upgraded DVR for quite some time, and this seems to be it. I would love to see this show up on a lot of their other products. Hopefully we'll see HDO2 with the Scout DVR. Who knows? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe for more FPV related content. Drop a like, and thank you for watching. Bye.